to Elliott. Oh, bicycle!
The shot, Bedoya with a goal, 1-0 Union.
Good evening and welcome to Union Insider, your weekly deep dive into the Philadelphia Union. Alongside former Union defender Shannon Williams and the club's all-time leading scorer Sebastian Letou, I'm Dave Leno. So guys, the Union again struggle on the road, now 0-3 away from Chester. They fall 1-0 at FC Cincinnati. First and foremost, what did you make of the tactical flexibility, rotating a ton of players going from the 4-4-2 diamond to the 3-5-2 last game?
It was interesting to me just to kind of see this formation, especially with lots of new young players coming into the team to try to get a result in Cincinnati. I think it was much more defensively. We saw like the kind of line of five with Baizo, coming at the right back, and you saw Ariel being the third center back, and then the three midfielder, Martinez, Flack, and Bueno, who are more defensively to me. So it didn't give a lot of option to try, to get forward and maybe, be scoring more goals. It was more defensive and try to get like the one or two chances in the game that they had to maybe score the goal. But it was a bit interesting to me to see how everybody like play in this role, knowing that they never play like that this year.
For me, it was definitely a good tactical change, one that saw them compete on the road. I think it gave them a chance to really get into the game and slow down Cincinnati's attack. I thought they did a good job of it until it got later on into the game.
So obviously prioritizing the Champions League play as opposed to MLS play. There were a few chances in that game for the Union, among them Chris Donovan in the 12th minute, also Jesus Bueno around the 52nd minute. So the Union go into the locker room at TQL Stadium, and it was 0-0 at the time. I thought, Shannon, you and I called the game on radio. I thought that was a win for the Union, giving Cincinnati the bulk of the possession, about 75-25. But what did you make of the chances despite the Union loss, Seba, for the Union?
I especially, like the chance in the second, half with Bueno, who almost get the goal, but he started with kind of like a direct play, playing above the top for Donovan, who kind of almost won the header, and then the second ball came into Sullivan, who were able to pass Bueno, but it's where the team is, I think, the most dangerous defensively, when they kind of face the game, win the second ball, and then are able to be, 30, 40 yards from the box and go quickly in transition, and it's what happened. Unfortunately, Bueno just missed, the chance by a little bit. Could have been the lead for the team at that point, but it was a good play, and I think that he did a bit more, play direct play from the back to the forward to then have the three midfielder, win the second ball and get the chances.
Shannon, what did you make of the movement up top with Donovan and Sullivan, or did you find that guys were having a hard time finding them, or those forwards having a difficult time getting into play against Miazga, Hagelin and company?
I thought it was a tough day for them. I thought that while they did okay on the ball, I didn't think that they had a lot of support. I think that the Union's deep line definitely struggled to really advance and get forward to really help out those two up front. And I thought they struggled. They were able to create a couple chances, which I thought was to their game plan, soaking up that pressure and looking to maybe nick one off the counter. They were almost able to do that. Unfortunately for them, didn't get the finish in the end.
All right, guys, it's very early. The Union right now at 2-4-1, 7 points in the table, in 10th in the Eastern Conference. I don't think it's time to panic at all, but are the Union predictable right now? How do you feel like the opposition in MLS play is going up against the Union?
I mean, first, like we all know, everybody knows they were like one of the best teams this year, in the final. Everybody wants to beat them, so it's the first thing. Then the mentality of the way they play, they got studied a lot by every team. They have a good plan to play against the Union, so they know that especially the front three, when Gazda, Carranza, and Rua play each other, they always want to find the feet and run from each other, try to combine. So as soon as the ball is played, into those three, you see every team kind of jumping and winning the ball, and the second ball, which was a bit missing, I think, for the team. So they might need to change a bit of their game plan, maybe more on the side, having more support for Baizo, maybe Wagner when he comes back to help the team offensively. And then in the midfield, I think, like I just talked about, the long balls, kind of playing more directs, try to make it ugly in the midfield, but win this battle, because we have players like Flack, Martinez, who are very strong defensively and can really help in this type of play.
For me, they just need to get back to the basics. I think that they've done a good job of creating some chances, and they've missed on maybe the final pass or the final run. I think they can do a better job of getting more numbers involved in the attack to actually help them out and to score more goals. Sometimes we're looking at balls coming into the box to maybe one or two strikers when they could have 3-4 guys into the box.
What do you think of the midfield play as of right now? I know Jose Martinez does a ton of ball winning. You mentioned trying to get more direct play, but can the midfielders be more advantageous winning that midfield battle against the opposition in MLS play?
I mean, I think they do a good job kind of like sitting down and winning, but when we are not pushing too much numbers forward, like Shannon said, it's where the loss of space in. And when you have a flag and Martinez who are more defensive, then when they win the ball, it's a lot of the times they lost it right away after, which, we always like, oh, fantastic play. And then, what did this pass? Or what, try to play more simple and give the ball to a guy like Bedoya or Gazdag who then can, find the forward. So a bit more simpler into their game as soon as they win it. But we have like good players in the midfield to really put pressure on the ball. But I think when they are facing the game, it's where they are at the best.
Let's get into our first team report presented by Green Mountain Energy. The Union continue to manage a heavy schedule, traveling down to face Atlas in the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Champions League before returning to the States to head to the Windy City on Saturday for their second matchup with Chicago Fire FC.
Yeah, obviously it's a team right now that has confidence. They're coming off of a good victory. I think Kai Kamara is doing really well for them in scoring goals. The young homegrown Gutierrez has come in Shaqiri's absence and presents some problems at the number 10 position. So anytime you play a team with confidence, it's hard. Going on the road in this league is so challenging. So we know we'll be on short rest as well coming from Mexico. But I think that's why we have to utilize our whole squad. But a quick turnaround now and going to Chicago is never easy. But we recognize we're at a point in the season where we need to start taking points on the road.
Yeah, look, we're definitely looking forward to a match against Chicago to get back on track and hopefully get a good result to bring back to Philly. We know Chicago gave us a good battle last time at our home place. It was a very physical match, so I expect a little bit of the same. But yeah, we're going to play our way, try to get, like I said, a good result away from home, bring some points back to Philly. And yeah, that's it.
All right, guys, the next match for the Union is on the road in the Windy City against Chicago Fire FC. They're unbeaten the last four. The last Union win was against Chicago to Joaquin Torres' goal in the 90th minute. But so far, what have you made of Chicago under Ezra Hendrickson this year?
I really think they find their stride. Like you said, I feel like the game, when they played the Union here a couple of weeks ago, they were still a very good team. They created a lot of chances. They were not scared to attack. They got the red card in the mid-game, who kind of helped the Union. And at the last minute, Torres scores the goal to give the win, which I think was a bit tough on them because they play a good game. And now, two games they won, one on the road in Miami, now at home. They are really confident. I think it's going to be a very tough opponent for the Union, so they need to really have a great game plan to minimum get a tie and a point on the road this year.
For me, it's definitely going to be a tough game. Chicago's definitely found some confidence as they've come into this new season under Hendrickson. So it's going to be tough to break them down. I think last game that they were definitely had a good game plan going in. I think it gets tossed out the window once they get the red card like Seba talked about. So we'll definitely see a new Chicago, one that's growing in confidence and one that'll be tough to break down.
Coming off of a 2-1 win against Minnesota, where Kai Kamara did have a brace in that game. He paces the team with 3 goals. Kacper Shabilko, former Union player, came off the bench. And it's a different Chicago-looking team, guys, because they're without their goalkeeper, Ngaga Slonina, who now transferred to Chelsea. John Duran went to Aston Villa. And Sekulic is no longer there. They're right back. They have Suke, who comes up high off that right back side. So I feel like they're more tilted to the right, generating a lot of the attack there. But they look for Kamara up top. I also want to focus with their left winger, and Chris Mueller, former Orlando player, plays very well for them. I think if you consider the front three, they're a pretty formidable opponent.
Yeah, they are very strong. I think, like you say, Mueller, I really like him too. You see his energy and what he can do on 1v1 on the left side. He scored some goals already for the team. But I think, for them, it's a process with, Shannon say, Ezra Hendrickson, who just came as a head coach. It's his second season now with the team. You can see that the guys are more, better to play together this year. They know each other a bit more, and you can see the chemistry on the field, between all of them. So you can see that's why they got results, I think, at the beginning of the season, and they want to keep going to, climb in the ladder of the standing, and as of right now, they are doing a very good job.
We're about to step away, but before we do, it's time for This Week in Union History, presented by Premier Orthopedics. All the way back this week in 2015, the Union took on New York City FC for the first time, winning 2-1 on goals from Zach Pfeffer and a stoppage time winner from Vincent Nogueira. Union Insider returns after this. We're back with Throwback Thursday, presented by United Concordia. Don't have to go too far back for this one. Just over a month ago, since the Union and Chicago went at it, the match ended in a 1-0 win for the boys in blue, courtesy of this late winner from Joaquin Torres. Welcome back with Shannon Williams and Sebastian Latou. I'm Dave Leno. It's now time for the guys' keys to the game, presented by Subaru. Seba, what's your key?
I'm going with winning the battle in the midfield. Just, I think, because with the way they play Chicago with two number 6, they have sometimes, a little bit more space because the winger doesn't really come back. So I would love to see maybe some more long balls, playing by the defense, having the 3 midfielders of the Union kind of stepping forward and try to be here to really win the second ball. So then he can, help them to get closer to the goal and find the front 3 to kind of get some opportunities and some goal. But I think they have been at their best when they won the second ball. It was very important, especially right now. It's a tough time for them. They need to get a result and they need to make kind of like a dogfight into the midfield to try to get a result in Chicago.
I look forward to getting Gaston Jimenez and Fabian Herbers if they start in the midfield for Chicago. What's your key against this Chicago Fire team?
For me, it's going to be turn up the pressure. We know the Union have the workhorses to win the ball back higher up the field. That's when they've looked the best this year. We know Carranza, Flock, also Martinez do a great job of winning the ball back. Can they then find a final pass that'll lead to goal-scoring opportunities from there?
Chicago hasn't finished above the Union in the standings since 2017, but that's the situation both teams find themselves in. The Union's busy schedule swoon has seen them drop to 10th in the East, which has certainly been uncharacteristic, but Chicago under Ezra Hendrickson's team currently sits in 6th. When do you guys expect the Union to gain some consistency like we've seen from Chicago right now?
I mean, it's tough just because the Union has the Champions League playing, right now at the beginning of the season. We all know, the schedule, it's tough. A game every 3 days. The preparation is so different because you have maybe 1 day of preparation, try to recover from the game before. So it's always more difficult. We never have been that much, with Shannon. It was more maybe when we played the US Open Cup, in our time when you have those 3 days, game every time. So it's a bit difficult, but to find the stride, I think if they have maybe more time in preparation to study each team and get a great game plan, it might be better for the team.
Do you almost guys have to draw the line of separation between CONCACAF Champions League and MLS play? And I harken back to what Seattle did after not doing well, finishing below the table out of the playoffs last year, and obviously doing great in CONCACAF Champions League. Winning do Union fans just have to put the two aside?
I definitely think you look at the two separately. I think that they're two different competitions. They're also in very different phases of where they're at. One's towards the end, one's in the beginning. So it's very different. I think that the Union are close, especially in league play. I know that they've been doing well in Champions League. In league play, it really only takes 1 or 2 wins to really get the ball rolling for you and really get your team started. If you look at the standings right now, it's still pretty tight. They're still in a good spot in terms of not having to chase this big amount of points that they need to find to get up into the upper echelon of the East. So just looking for them to get that ball rolling. Hopefully it'll start with Chicago. We know that they've already beaten them this year, so it'll be a tougher time this time. But it's somebody that they can definitely look to expose.
Regardless, guys, who's in the starting lineup against Chicago, this team is 0-3 on the road. What do you want to see maybe the first 15, 20 minutes into this first half of the game to kind of set the tone? Or do you expect the Union to continue sitting back and trying to counter maybe more direct play, as we said early on tonight?
I think they are going to probably sit back again, especially, playing on Wednesday, just to kind of feel, the rhythm and what Chicago wants to do if they want to, take, all the ball, try to make the team run and then counter them in counter-attack. So it's going to be, I think, more a sit-back kind of type of tactic at the beginning, and then more the game goes, depending on the choice of Jim to as a starting 11, this weekend. And it's going to be interesting to see how the team is going to play.
What have you made of Gazdag at the number 10 if he gets the start against the Chicago team? Coming a little bit deeper in possession. I know they want to get, as we've referenced, that front 3 growing. But Gazdag in particular, how does he get to the form that he had last year?
There's 2 ways for me. I think he can come deeper and get on the ball deeper in the midfield. We can use his passing to spring those Carranzas and Uwas, whoever's playing up top, Sullivan it might be. I think that the other way is to, like Seb talked about earlier, pick up those second balls once it goes into the forwards. Can he be underneath, picking up second balls and then looking to attack that Chicago back line?
He's been one of the most reliable goal scorers in Major League Soccer for nearly 2 decades. We'll discuss the poaching prowess of Kai Kamara, the ageless wonder, when Union Insider returns. We're back with our nugget of the week presented by Chick-fil-A. Of the players who make up the list of most appearances in team history, 3 of the top 5 are still active. Andre Blake, Alejandro Bedoya, and Jack Elliott, who is 5 appearances away from overtaking Sebastian Letou for 4th most all time. Welcome back to Union Insider. I'm Dave Leno. It's time for this week's player profile presented by Subaru. Kai Kamara is an MLS institution, over 400 career appearances, 142 regular season goals, 3 behind Landon Donovan for second most all time, now in his unprecedented 18th season. Kamara has seen it all and played for 10 different organizations, representing most since coming into the league in 2006. Now, he has been in different stints with all those teams, and Kai Kamara is a guy that both of you have played against. What's the key of stopping this guy who has 3 goals for the Chicago team?
It's tough just because he's been in every team he has been playing, always successful. He always trying to find the back of the net. But I know him since a long time. My first time in Seattle when I did a tryout, we play against them. He was still a young player, but you can see like how good it is in the box and in the air. Like his runs are very like right away, in front of the defender, trying to get the edge. And he's kind of like as a nose for the goal. He's physical. On the box, you don't want to really have a fight with him because he always finds a way to turn you over, and he can score in any position. You saw his goals this year, diving header, shot with his left, he gets lucky, but he finds the back, and you see how hungry it is to score the goal and the motivation, even if he's not as young as he was before. But he's a great player for Chicago, a great addition, and he really provides some goal for them.
It was a big acquisition for George Heitz, their sporting director, to get Kai Kamara because, Shane, and this team had the second fewest goals last year with 39. Only DC United had the fewest across the league, and obviously they needed some scoring prowess, and they're getting it.
And Kai's the ultimate poacher. I think 142 goals says enough about what he brings to the table and his pedigree. He's third all-time, closing in on Landon Donovan, who's second all-time, so that shows his pedigree right there. And like Seba talked about, he's so physical in the box. He can score in a plethora of ways. Somebody that you have to stay tight to, especially once that ball enters the attacking third. He does so much for them as a target as well. So it's somebody that does a little bit of everything, but his biggest thing is being in front of that goal when the balls come in the box.
7th all-time guys in MLS game played. And I mentioned Suke, one of their new acquisitions, flying up the right-hand flank. If you pop on the tape with Chicago, he often looks for a guy in Kamara, order their number 10, whether Shaqiri or Gutierrez. Gutierrez did start in the last game of that 2-1 win over Minnesota. It's not just like the way that he can win balls like you both mentioned in the air on the 50-50, but just threw balls into his feet, though. He's a clinical finisher. So how does Glesnes and Elliott and also Martinez and others be aware of where Kai is at all times, especially when Chicago doesn't have the ball?
I mean, it's for Glesnes and Elliott, a lot of communication between them too. You don't want to see Kamara kind of like dropping and not really like have nobody on him and be able to turn and then face the defense. So it's a lot of communication, but they need to really like make sure one of them is close to him because he can really be deadly in the box.
We're stepping away just one more time, but after you're done with us, head on over to the Union's YouTube channel and catch episode 2 of The Union Way, a behind-the-scenes account of this year's Union squad. Here's a snippet of what you can see.
This group is a special group because we always respond after we aren't our sharpest, and we know we weren't our sharpest in Miami. So now we have to take it out on Chicago in every phase of the game. It's a night where we need the first foul, the first shot, and the first goal. Everybody's committed for 90 minutes. Let's go. Come on, here we go.
Let's go, boys. Let's go from the opening whistle. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Philadelphia and Chicago, the teams just coming out of the tunnel on a cool night in Chester. The flags are waving in the river end. And what has become a familiar scene and a familiar sight of success for Philadelphia starts to heat up once more.
You can watch both episodes of The Union Way, available for free right now on YouTube. It's a brand new day in broadcasting when it comes to Major League Soccer, with all matches moving to MLS Season Pass on Apple TV beginning this year. That we assume you know. What you may not know is how easy it is to access. Here's a litany of ways. Look at them, study them. If you caught any of the action on Apple TV, you know what you're in for. Top coverage and analysis, all in crystal clear 1080p resolution. Sign up for MLS Season Pass today to ensure you don't miss a minute of the action. Final segment here on Union Insider, and it's now time for our All-State players to watch. Both Seba and Shannon have selected a player who might have a significant impact on Saturday's match. Seba, you start us off.
Yes, and I'm going with Andres Pereira just because we didn't see a lot of him in the past few games, and he was kind of the person who was providing the goals for the team in Champions League and the last game against Orlando at home. So I really hope to see him on the field. We can see he can really provide some goals into the team. He's good in the midfield as well. He has a different type of profiles than all the midfielders we have who can really attack on 1v1 and put himself into the box. So I would love to see him get a big impact on the game against Chicago.
Shannon, who's your guy?
For me, it's Michael Ua. Right now, I know he hasn't had the start of the season that he probably hoped and that Union fans are hoping for. But I think it's somebody, if the Union play a little bit more direct, can definitely benefit that. If the Union soak up pressure and look to play Chicago on the counter, I think he's one that can benefit.
I know we would all love to see Michael Ua get that third goal at Chicago this weekend. Also, before we say goodbye, a little news to share from our co-host Marissa Pilla. A week ago today, Francesca Frankie Rose Bollinger came into the world. Mom and Dad are doing great, and we certainly wish them the best as they start this next chapter in their lives. Congratulations, Marissa, Brian, and your families.
Yes, and we all know that Frankie is born on the 4th, the mom is born on the 6th, and the dad on the 8th. So hopefully, when they have the first year party, we'll be at the party.
Marissa, can't wait to see you back on the set. That will do it for us. Union at Chicago Fire FC this weekend on MLS Season Pass. We'll be back this time next week to break it all down for you. I'll be on the radio play-by-play from Soldier Field with Lisa Roman joining me in the booth. You can listen to our Union radio broadcast on 97.5 The Fanatic. For Sebastian Latou and Shannon Williams, I'm Dave Leno. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.